environment supported that. So in the traditional back then, like in the 60s, 50s, or whatever, the environment in which the way that worked, that's why the marriages stayed together. You understand what I'm saying? So now you're moving forward in an environment that's totally changed, and you're still trying to stick a round peg in a square, hole is not going to work as well. So back
That's
then,
the point, though.
women depended. They were literally dependent upon men, right? That's
No,
why they were the breadwinners.
no.
A lot
Women
of times
always worked.
What I'm saying is no, no, you
always
no.
worked, but they never
Yeah,
made enough to take care of the household
Yes,
on
they
their
did.
own. For
yeah.
They
the
live with
You
their mama. No, they live with their mama. Their husband took them from their mama. They didn't have to have their own household. Women
listen,
back then, I took my ex-wife out of her mama's house and went and put her in a big ass house as a 19-year-old. I went and took her out of
like,
her
oh, let
home.
me just
Women
finish my
now, okay,
point.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
glad you were able to do that.
MissTaken. The only thing about you finishing is that the assumption is what you're saying is correct. That's why I had to
It's not.
interject, because
Mhm,
if you just use anecdotal examples, right? When you use the movie like The Help, for instance, do you remember when
mhm.
she lost her job and she's like, "What's gonna happen when Leon get home?" Because that money did matter to those households.
Right. My point is for what I was saying is that the men, the amount of money they made, even now today, that statistically still show that it's true that men typically made more money than women, right? Back then the environment was even different, even more different in terms of access to the type of jobs that were available. Women would never make enough money to necessarily be independent, right?
They don't
Mistaken.
That's
need to be. They live with their mama back in the day. This is
that's
what I'm
Hold on, Mr.
saying.
Nico.
They didn't have
Hold
their
on,
own
Mr.
Let's
household.
Sweeney. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let Sweeney go because I
They
feel
didn't
like
have
we'll
their
go
own.
back because
okay.
here's
Wait,
what's
can
gonna
I
happen. Just
finish my
real
thought?
quick, here's what's gonna happen. If nobody can concede a point when the facts are brought out, it's gonna be circular. So let Sweeney
Can I-
go ahead and talk, and then you can kinda. But
All
let
right.
Sweeney ask you a question. You can respond to him, finish your thought. Then let's get back to
You're
Andre because I
wrong,
want to hear
mistaken.
that.
So hold on, Mr. Lego. So mistaken. This is why you're mistaken. If you look at the difference, and let's just strictly talk about the black community, because we all black up here. If you look at the difference between how much money black men made back then in comparison to our women versus today, there was only an $11,000 a year difference between black men and black women then. There's only a $6,000 difference between black men and black women today. Do you really think that 5,000, give or take a few thousand, if you talk about inflation, was enough of a difference for women to look at men the way that they look at them today? Their money was always monumental in the households of black with their black men. Just like we couldn't survive on our own without women back then, and our women couldn't survive on their own without us. Today, if you look at the numbers, women can't survive on their own today without black men, and we barely can survive on our own today without black women when you're looking at the average black man and black woman. And that's just what the numbers say.
Okay, so I'll finish my point. What I'm saying now, the
Without
difference is
listening to nothing.
in this situation, I heard what he said. The only thing is that, you know me, I'm gonna look up, I like looking up numbers and studies. So I can't speak to what he said about the difference between back then in terms of the money gap. I have to do the research on that. I just don't take people's word just for because they said it. So what I was getting at was now you're in a position when you look back then versus now, the environment was totally different, which supported a certain lifestyle. Whereas here now, that's totally different, and you do have more women that are making enough money that can live on their own, have their own house, have their own car. So men have to find a way to move differently in that space. I'm not saying that they can't be the head of the home, but they're going to have to come to the table with more than just the money, is what I'm trying to say. They have to have the emotional intelligence. They have to have the, supportive aspect of being able to support a woman emotionally, mentally, not just financially. And I think that's where a lot of the issues are coming
Right.
from, because that's an area that needs more development that I think men have a hard time
So, Miss
You
Tagan,
know,
can I wrap this one thing what you're saying in a just in a
real quick,
and pull this out and just end it. All right. When you bring up what was going on back then, that was when I was married. That was when I was around. Okay. First, like I said, women did not have their own households. They lived with a mama. Okay. That's the first thing. A man is supposed to take a woman from her mama's or daddy's house. You're supposed to go to their daddy and ask their daddy, can I either date your daughter or marry your daughter? Okay. So the difference between then and now is in the opportunities that women have, but the abuse of the opportunities that women have. So now they're like, I don't need no man. I'm just going to get a college degree and go live on my own. And most Black women in America are getting either evicted, already got evicted, or homeless, or selling ass and living with their sister. Okay. So it's not working. And the problem is women do not want to admit that it's not working. So everything you said back in the day, I agree, but it's still the same thing here. But you don't want to accept it being the same because y'all are not the same, because y'all want to be independent, and independence is not working.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll let that marinate. Andrea, Mr. Let Go, you said you wanted to address her point.
Check the back chat.
Okay. So what Andrea, Andrea's young, so it's cool. She don't know nothing.
She's 31 years old, man. She's not young.
Well,
I'm 30.
She old.
Brain wise, she's 12. Okay.
I got you, Sweeney.
So the thing about it is, Andrea, you said you cannot control. I mean, you cannot, one, Simone Biles had no problem with this whole scenario. Toxic women on social media had the problem with her, right? So when you look at her career and his career, those are their careers, goofball, not their individuality. He is her man, her husband. He is dominant over her, not because of what they do. He's a millionaire and she's a millionaire, but he's still dominant over her. You can't say she's a lawyer and he's a doctor, and because a lawyer makes more money than the doctor, we need to listen to the lawyer. No, their careers have nothing to do with it. But she was okay with that.
You call
me Good, Andre.
Did you call me a goofball?
Yes.
No, please don't call me out of my name. Thank you.
I'm ready to get
sorry.
in.
Hold on. I'm sorry for calling you a goofball.
No, can I get in his ass now? Cause it's time.
Go ahead.
Cause you repeated you did all that talking. You repeated
Before
everything that I
before
said.
that, do you accept my apology? I didn't. Stop. It's a respect thing. This is a respect thing. Do you respect?
Lord,
okay, cool. Now you can go.
Cause you kept cutting me out when I first started talking.
I'm apologizing to a woman. That's
Go
important.
ahead.